charging as far as Medicare and stuff like that, and then channel stuffing. So, this guy, he doesn't just play for little tiddlywinks. He plays for situations where people are really getting hurt, and he doesn't like to see that shit. And I mean, with Money Lobster, I've been, following Mark for, 3-4 years, probably in that range, maybe 2 to 3. And he's a straight shooter. And if someone's getting hurt, he's going to call it out. And then, to get that, FBI visit to his house, like terrorizing his, disabled son and his wife, they're there, and he doesn't know why these people are there. And then he goes after the senator who orchestrated it. To me, that's just, like justice, right? You want to see that in people. You want to know that still exists, because at so many levels, even at law enforcement levels, the government is so corrupted. So that's my 2 cents on it. But I would encourage you, get a T0 account, sign up for it, and trade some of these security tokens that are there. And one last thing is, in addition to T0, they're also in a partnership to set up this new exchange, what they want to call the Boston Securities Token Exchange, and the BSTX. And that'll basically be an exchange to replace, NASDAQ, et cetera, right? And that's on the roadmap. You can see the SEC filings on that. They're trying to get approval for it. It's been, delayed a bunch of times, but if that one cracks, it'll be a really nice development. So that's what I got.
Wow, thank you so much. That was so informative. I really appreciate that TLDR of, basically you just summarized a lot of things that Mark has told me, I've researched, I've found out, and putting it here in words like that and being able to do it, in a timely fashion is just amazing. So thank you. I really appreciate you doing that. Not only for me, but for everyone listening.
Yep. He's the real deal, man. You got to trust him.
Yeah. He's got serious, diamond hands. This guy is ballsy. He is no joke. And that's the thing. I mean, most of us, if the FBI showed up at our door, we would probably be scared and not talk anymore, right? And he did the opposite. He found out who the hell did that to him, and found out, he got to the bottom of it. And as far as I know, I don't think they did that again. So
and the thing with him, he said on the call, he said people talking shit to him for 2-3 years. I mean, I was there when he would get badgered by literally Crazy Eddie Antar's nephew. They would just badger the hell out of Mark, talking it down. And the stock, where he got in, when he was, I think he did a speech to Harvard Business School, the stock was at 70, 80 a share, and he was recommending it. And then these, short sellers, these guys that wanted to take it down, they got it all the way down to $2 a share on Overstock. And now it trades at 103, maybe a year and a half, 2 years later. So for you to have the cojones to hold it that long and stay with your convictions.
That's perfect.
Yeah, it's a tribute to him, man. Yep.
I think you summed it up perfectly earlier when you said, why isn't somebody from the Overstock situation, doing anything to help AMC? And I think the only person that gives a damn is, Mark's here, and he's helping us out now. I think it's great.
Yeah. Actually, I mean, if we want to get into something here, maybe we could tweet at T0 at Jonathan Johnson. He's the Overstock CEO and the AMC CEO, and just
Can you, if you DM me those ats, I can try to do that. Or if you want to put a tweet out there and I can just retweet it just to get more eyes on it. But either way, that would be awesome. That way we can have something, and maybe some form of a hashtag.
Yeah, because the thing that I'm seeing there is that this exchange already exists. We're not inventing something new. In my mind, the first time Overstock got the the dividend token done, I was really happy about that, because it was just talk about the exchange and this, that, and the other thing. And then when it finally came to fruition, I'm like, okay, finally something. And, Mark, he gets on the overstock calls, and he hammers that team that is T0, saying, hey, we better have at least, 24 or 50, different tickers on T0 by the end of 2022, or I'm going to be really disappointed, So, I'll tweet something out, and I'm following you now, Tara. So, I'll tag you on that also.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. That's awesome.
Yep.
Can we let horror talk? They've had their hand up for a while.
Yeah, I thought you said a bad word. Holy. Yeah, what's going on, horror punks? Oh my goodness.
Hey,
what's happening?
I've always had this question because I hold a couple shares of AMC, but I just can't wrap my brain around this, and hopefully somebody here can answer this. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes and of the people who are short selling this, and this is just what I can't get my head around, is the stock hasn't done the short squeeze yet, but isn't that also part of their plan? Like, because they don't report, there's no record of what's actually shorted right now, and can't they just slowly sell this off while not rising the price? That's what I'm trying to wrap my head around. And
well, so usually if there is a tokenized dividend or tokenized security, whatever you want to call it, not an NFT, if that is applied to each share of AMC, then there would be a deadline, like a date where those would have to be delivered to the people who hold the stock. So once that deadline comes, I think that would be the ultimate reveal, right? Where they either do what they're supposed to do and everyone ends up with their, tokenized security for their shares, or they can't and therefore have to buy them back from us, the people who do have the real shares, and supply and demand at that point, essentially, which would ultimately cause the stock price to go up and probably a squeeze.
So the shorts could have covered back when it was $5, but they chose to, when people say kick the can down the road, that means financially engineer up some synthetic shares to sell to suppress the price. But if those shares get bought up, then when you kick the can down the road, now you've got to cover at $25, at $50. And now they're not going to be able to cover until some 4-digit figure. And even then they're not going to fully cover, because who knows how many times over the float the number of synthetic shares. It could be as high as, this is not financial advice, but it could be as high as 11 billion shares. And so the whole mentality of, well, instead of why did you print that many billions of shares that are fake that you sold as real shares as per allowed by law, by the DTCC, self-regulated. Now what happens when they could have covered? Like, the question you should be asking is, why didn't they just cover it $5 or let it run January 28th? Because that wouldn't have, it would have been a disaster for them. But now it's going to be a way bigger disaster. So every time you hear the phrase kick the can down the road, it's we could have covered at $500, not financial advice, but now we're going to have to cover at $720,000 per share.
But this is where I also wonder, and it's like, is the financial system, are all these guys just like so in bed with each other that they could just feasibly be like, hey, we can set the deadline to a faraway date, and we can just slowly try to cover this.
How much have hedge funds lost shorting already? Not just from shorting, but from having to borrow shares to short. The total market cap of AMC is only $22 billion. And then how do you lose more than $100 billion on side bets? I don't know how, but hedge funds somehow figured out a way to lose 5x the market cap. And I know it's funny for us because all we need to do is not get complex and fancy and buy options and day trade in and out of in at $45, out at 37, or vice versa. All we need to do is hold because eventually they're going to have to cover. And in my semi-professional opinion of just being a dude on the internet with a Twitter account, I don't think that they've covered, I don't think hedge funds have covered yet. So I'm going to go ahead and hold my little basket of 2+ more than 2 shares, and I'm going to keep hodling.
Well, here's the thing and the confusion. It's not the hedge funds, right? The hedge funds, they're part of the players where they're in the game, but it's the market makers and the banks. And here's the best way to think about it, right? So when the price was super low and the price ran up, they kept selling shares. If they've oversold the float, they kept selling shares. Well, what you're technically supposed to do is keep selling shares until the float is sold, and then the price runs up. And when the price runs up, people think it's really juicy and they sell, right? And they could have done that, but they didn't do that. And the question is why? Why are the market makers continuing to print shares, right? Why are they continuing to do that? And it's just getting worse and worse and worse and worse. Why didn't they let the float get bought up in the beginning? It's because they are over leveraged. They have so many shares buried, and we're going to call them out.
But then how are they like still in business right now? Are they really like worth more than $100 billion collectively? Like that's what I have trouble with.
They have more than 100 billion in assets under management. So essentially, as long as they keep their margin accounts funded and they keep pumping money in there to stay above their margin requirements, they can keep doing it all day. And the thing is that like the borrow fees on the stocks is under like 1%. So like the whole
Do you have a source for that 1%?
Crap, what was I thinking? What was the
In the meantime, I want to point out.
Wait. Is that 1%? No, hold on. Is that 1% per hour that they're borrow share, or is that 1% per year? Because
I think it's 1% per year, and it was on Reddit. It was a reference to, I think, the Ortex data. I think that's what they go off of with a lot of that. I know.
No, just checking on that, because on the other side of the trade, with some of the doom and gloom of, oh my God, hedge funds just seem to have so much money, and how are we little apes going to survive? Well, the good news is that this guy, his name is Larry Fink, and he runs BlackRock. And look at his 13 F filings, 13 like 12, 13, 14. F as in Frank. 13 F filings. BlackRock is on the side of the apes, waiting for the hedge funds to default by aping in, aka buying and hodling a crap ton of shares, which you'll have to look up personally because it's a high number of shares.
Also,
but I believe part of that is Vanguard and BlackRock, and a lot of that is because they manage those big ETFs. Like IWM is managed by BlackRock. Vanguard has their own funds that they have AMC and GameStop in as well. So part of that asset under management is like, we have a bunch of these ETFs and they have this value, and they're the ones who manage that. So that's where that assets under management portion comes from. The importance, though, of all of this is this whole scheme that these short hedge funds have is based off of this seller boxing concept, which was posted about in a forum in like 2007. And if you go find it on Reddit, somebody in Superstonk, I think, found it. It's like from 2007, people talking about the stock markets, or 2006, and talking about this scheme of short selling and seller boxing, which just to drop it down to that like 0.0001 dollar level, right? That like thousandth of a penny or whatever it is. And what they can do is they can sit there and they can almost infinitely borrow against that, because 1% of virtually nothing is, nothing pretty much. So your borrow fee.
I'm going to push back on the 1% borrow fee because it's actually around 20%, but I've got sites. Borrow fees.
Can I ask this man?
But with seller boxing, hold on.
Really
To finish with seller boxing. Hold on, with seller boxing, that costs money when you lose. Mm-hmm. And so there's a fee to manipulate the price, whereas we just need to not get bored and then exactly.
But nobody's the shorts is the market makers. Nobody's paying a borrow fee other than the industry shorts, the people that are trying to play the short game that they shouldn't be, but if they are, they're stupid, right? It's the real shorts is the market maker. It's a whole different story. It's not the hedge funds. The hedge funds are maybe like the heads of the hydra, but it's not the beast. And I think we need to understand that, because when they sell you the synthetic share, they're selling you a bomb, right? This bomb has a fuse on it. And when the fuse gets down, it explodes. Otherwise, you have to hide it. You have to hide it through ISDA contracts or through derivatives, creating synthetic shares. So what's really important, people, is just to hold and just let that bomb time down and blow up. When you day trade AMC and GME, you reset that fuse. It's so easy a caveman can do it. Just buy and hold. You know, we don't hold picket signs. We hold meme stocks.
Well, that's okay. So this is the big question I have is, what's the daily volume of AMC? I haven't checked in a long time, but I would imagine like over 10 million. And like it's at 40. 40 is better than selling it at $700,000 a share. So it's like, what my question is, so much time has gone by. Wouldn't it just make sense for them to like sell like 10 million a day at like 40 and like kind of cut your losses? And is that what they're doing? And are we really above 100% float right now? Because there's no way to really confirm that.
That's why we want to do the tokenized security, right? Because it will call it out. We have estimates based off of statistics from votes that the AMC did that look very sexy, but it's not a real number like the NFT will do or the tokenized security.
Yeah, this is 100, like that data is 100% extrapolated from like less than 10% of data. It was, supposedly looked at by some people who are data scientists, i.e. statisticians. So in terms of, how right that data is, there is some margin of error there, but there is some validity to those numbers that have been pitched out. I never had heard that 11 billion number. Maybe that's what it's at now, but the numbers back when the analysis was done, what was it, June or July, right before the earnings call in August, if I remember, was that we had figured out from the Say Technologies data that there was somewhere around, I think it was 1.5 billion to 5 billion shares in, out in the markets. And that was, again, extrapolated off of, low turnout and, potentially skewed data to the high side on averages due to, people who have a bigger investment are going to be more vested in going and voting and getting their opinion heard. But it does still give us a good baseline of what sort of ranges we could be looking at for a realistic number. So, in that respect, we've got some fuzzy numbers is what I like to refer to it as. But the idea of taking this to the blockchain and to go with, something like T0, it really opens up that door of saying, this is how it is. We've got this accounting. It's all public. And there is no refuting it at that point, right? And that's the thing that's so scary to them, that, like, if it's done right, then they're in some deep shit.
I agree. It's absolutely crazy how they could have covered at $5. And the only way that it doesn't squeeze is if AMC or GameStop go bankrupt, because that's their plan for short selling, where they keep printing shares. Look at how many times they've done it successfully. Like, every time they've tried it, they've been successful. They're just getting pushback from two stocks right now, maybe non-professional opinion, AMC and GameStop, where apes caught them doing something illicit and borderline illegal, but technically legal through the DTCC. And now the Fed and Gary Gensler, they've got to come up with all these ICC 2021-008 synthetic share roll-up, blah, 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 and all these random specific rules to try to then rein in some of the self-regulatory things that these market makers, great point, were able to do with ginning up these shares. And then now we're in a situation where, like, who's going to pay the insurance after the insurance? What if the reinsurers? And it turns out all of that is set where pension funds are not going to just lay down and take and be like, oh, you guys defaulted? you don't have to pay me my nut. That's just not a possibility. I'm super bullish.
Yeah, and another thing to keep in mind is like those market makers that are doing a lot of this, they can't hold those positions forever. And that's why we see and why we've been hearing about that talk of kicking the can down the road, right? So they take those short positions, and as some of the, really dedicated folks over in Superstonk and some people in AMC have done in Reddit, is they've found out that, you can attach these short positions to, options and to futures and to credit default swaps, right? Y'all remember those credit default swaps, right? It's still around. It's not a thing that's gone away. And that's a vehicle that I believe some of these hedge funds are using in Congress with, the purported bad actors like Citadel, in terms of their market making ability, right? Because Citadel is not just a hedge fund. They're not just a hedge fund and a market maker. They're a hedge fund, they're a market maker, and they are it's like accepted or authorized. There you go. And they're an authorized participant, which means they have even more abilities to go out into the market and to manipulate things, such as taking shares from ETFs, which we saw earlier this year, right? They were borrowing ETF shares and they were replacing it with, bonds or other things, and then using that to, short.
So I was 2 months ago years old when I figured out with T+2 with high frequency trading, it's literally never executed. Where the T+2 just high frequency trades within that, where it's just a constant whirlwind of bull crap that is just taking advantage of all these basic loopholes. But the good news is it costs them money to run that financially dirty AF engineering. And all we need to do is just be patient, where I'm fully expecting like a 5-point drop after it hits $80 or a 25-point drop after it hits $90. Like, people aren't prepared for the volatility where if you spend money and it spikes up $40 to X and you take yourself out for a little vacation, like danger, because when the thing moons, the volatility is going to wipe people out, because it'll be up a mil, down 5 mil. And a guy like Marc, he's literally just going to never spend any of his gain until he exits. And when he exits, this is great news, bad news, but don't FOMO buy back into AMC when you sell out at $6,500 and you're like, oh, I remember that Chinese guy, Larry Chang, he said it hit like $50,000. I want to buy back in at $35,000. Because that is how Isaac Newton went bankrupt in the 1720s. This is the same thing, 1720s, 1820s, 1920s, 2020s. Like, don't FOMO buy back in. Happily take your millions in gains.
Yeah, absolutely. Really quick, I need to ask if there are people who are no longer speaking up here or haven't had a chance to chime in. I got to cycle through and get some people up here, unless I could put a couple people in the co-host spot.
Hey, Tara, I got just a couple questions. First off, thanks for letting me come up here. I am definitely a smooth brain type of guy. I don't understand NFTs. I understand it's a token. I understand you can only issue as many as the available flow. But how does that, and this is my question so I can, feed back to the people that I keep informed about the stock, how does that trigger a squeeze? It gets issued, right? 518 million per se gets issued. Tokens, NFTs get issued. How does that exactly show who's naked shorting, who's making synthetics? Like, how does that be a potential trigger, I should say? And then my second question to that is if there's billions, millions, billions, whatever it is, of synthetics out there, and they only issue 518 million per se, should they do it? What about everybody else? That's where I'm lost, I guess. And then after that, you can drop me down. Thanks.
Do you want me to answer that, Tara?
Yeah, sure. For sure.
Yeah.
If you have a cool, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. So I'll make this a very simple explanation, right? Let's suppose that AMC doesn't have 500 million shares. Let's suppose they have 10 shares. Now, if 15 people supposedly own those 10 shares, right? In other words, there's been some synthetic shorting going on. That's a perfectly legal market operation by market makers to, increase that float for a temporary period of time. Now, let's say that there's a dividend. We don't even have to talk about crypto. There is just a straight dividend that's going to go out to these 10 shares. The people who are the official holders of those shares are all supposed to get a dividend payment. So the people who have shorted those shares have essentially two options. They can either close out their position and walk away before the dividend is supposed to be delivered, or they can try and pay that themselves, right? So essentially what would have to happen is that they would then take some of their own profits from their pocket and they would hand it to those other 5 people. Now, imagine that that's instead of being on a scale of 10 to, 500 million, right? Now your dividend is much larger, so it would already eat into your pocketbook a little bit, but we're also talking about shares into the billions, so double the float, right? All of those 500 million shares would still need to be accounted for in terms of a dividend, and any of those people who don't get one would be raising it with their brokers, would be raising it, to authorities and saying, hey, look, I own this share. It's here in my brokerage account. I never got a dividend payment. Here's the paper trail. And that right there is what would trigger those problems, because they absolutely have to provide that, that piece of the security that's part of that ownership relationship, right? So that's a guarantee of like you're supposedly owning that stock. If there is a dividend, they have to give that out. So with an NFT, it's the same sort of concept. And we can even take another medium step towards the NFT idea. Mark Cohodes actually brought up a really random and great example of like you could just give out kitchen sinks, right? So if Adam Aaron wanted to buy up 500 million kitchen sinks and give them out to all of us, then he would buy up 513 million and say, okay, these go to the registered shareholders who are DRS'd in ComputerShare, and then the rest of these all go to the DTCC. The DTCC is then supposed to say, okay, I have all of these shares, and I need to hand them out, right? And when they get done handing out all of these kitchen sinks, people don't get kitchen sinks, and they go, what happened to my kitchen sink? And so then they have to figure out how they're going to handle that, right? And if they can't, then that gets the SEC involved, and then hammers start to drop and things get bad. So to then take it that final step, right? An NFT is it's non-fungible, meaning you can't swap it for something else of like value. There is nothing alike to it, which isn't totally accurate, right? Because you could put a price on it, but it's an arbitrary price. But the idea is that it doesn't have a price, an easy like market value to say like a bicycle, for example. Like if you could go out and buy a bicycle for $100, you can say that bicycle is purchasable on a marketplace for $100. An NFT, if it's being specifically minted for this specific purpose, and it's a set of 500 million of these, they then have to take that 500 million and try and hand them out, but there's nothing similar to it, and it's not actually a dividend, so it doesn't fall under the rules of, well, you've got debt and so you can't have a dividend. What it allows you to do is it then says there's only 513 million. You can't create any more. You can't go out and buy another kitchen sink because there's only 513 million and there will never be any more than that. So at that point, they have two options. They can go to that NFT marketplace and try and buy the dividend off of a registered shareholder, or they have to, close their position and then, and then it would roll to the next person, right? Until all of those are gone and only the 513 million exist, or they've bought up what they need.
Okay, so just so I understand this, there will be people then, shareholders that are not going to get dividends if they're not DRS'd or for whatever reason. There's going to be people that miss out on this then. If there is billions of synthetics because, like you said, they either have to close out the position or pay cash out of their pocket. But there will be people, in essence, that are going to miss out on this.
No, there won't. No, there won't be.
There won't be cash out of pocket. There won't be cash out of pocket.
So how do they make up for that? How do they make up for the dividends that no longer exist? Should they not?
They can't, and that's why this works. That there is no equivalency, and that's why the whole thing works.
One question though. This is where I have a hard time with the premise.
Hold on. While the kitchen sink, before you delve into the half separation from this, while the kitchen sinks are getting distributed, the stock price is going crazy. So not only can you not pay the kitchen sink digital gift, I almost said dividend, the kitchen sink gift, you also now have another fire burning, which is the cost to rent shares just spiked.
Well, this is the question that I have is, okay, so let's say, so what you're saying is that there are people who are going to own the share and they're going to be like, why am I not getting the dividend? But my question is the person who holds the share the person who's in a short position? And if you're in a short position is not getting a dividend, like, I would imagine that being the least of my worries.
No. If you're in the short position, remember, you now have to come up with 5 to 10 kitchen sinks if we're staying with the kitchen sink gift.
Oh, because they sold. They sold it. Yeah. Okay,
they're renting without a borrow, which is the precursor to this was when Overstock actually, I don't mean to laugh, but I'm laughing at the punchline. The Overstock got sued because they were doing something completely legal, and they almost lost, but then they won versus the government, and because of that, there's precedence, so that way there isn't going to be 5 month to 5 years of AMC dragging this out, which is why Marc Cohodes earlier 6 hours ago, specifically 5 hours, 50 minutes ago, talked about how he was completely floored that Adam Aaron was mad at him for sending him a weekend email. Like, we need, as if it feels like maybe 2/3 of us are AMC shareholders, we need to call and ask Adam Aaron why he was mean to Marc Cohodes in doing something that is going to put literally, this is financial advice, $2 to $6 billion into Adam Aaron's pocket, but he doesn't want to hear an NFT because he doesn't want to deal with it on a Saturday where he did sell stock. So we need to call.
Can I just interrupt you really quick and say that, first of all, yeah, I know I heard what Mark said, but how do we know per se, and I'm not going to say anything, but how do we know that that's not something that Adam's already got in the works? I mean, he did announce that there's going to be that they're going to have their own cryptocurrency. Are we sure that this isn't something that maybe he's already working on?
I also asked Adam Aaron if he wanted to do Bitcoin Sapio. So instead of Ethereum with the gas fees for an NFT, I asked Adam Aaron if he wanted to do Bitcoin Sapio as a digital gift. I hope that Adam Aaron is working on this, but my gut feeling is that he is currently not. And I know that you like him, and I know that you're friends with him, and I love him too, okay? I love Starward Preferred Guest. I love Starward Preferred Guest.
I've talked to him.
I love Starward Preferred Guest. That was his other turnaround. He also turned around the 76ers.
It's not coming from a place of liking him. It's coming from a different place. I'm just letting you know.
I'll let you expand on that because I actually want to hear about this. But he's turned around. He is a turnaround. He takes turd and he makes it better. So he's actually the perfect guy for this job. In addition to Ryan Cohen being chairman, he's perfect for that job. Doing a turnaround of a video game cartridge rental reseller into this brand new thing. But we as shareholders, as individual investors, we need to ask Adam Aaron why he won't listening to Larry Chang, whatever. but not listening to Marc Cohodes and then pushing back on getting a weekend email. This isn't a weekend cell phone call that's a barrage. This is just a weekend cursory email. So, Tara, can you expand on what you're talking about? Tara, your mic's off.
Yeah, I know it. My phone's overheating, so it takes a while to get back to the screen. But I can't expand on it. I wish I could, but I can't. So it's just, I have to just leave it at that. Just know that I fully believe that this is being worked on one way or another. So whether CEO Adam goes the route that, Marc is proposing or takes his own path in this, I personally believe it's being worked on.
I agree.
Guys, if you have your hand up and you're trying to talk and there's an open space, just go ahead and talk. I would love to be able to introduce everyone to the call, but I'm trying to shovel food into my mouth because it's 6:30 at night and I haven't eaten yet. And my phone's overheating. So it takes a full 60 seconds just to wait for it to unmute. So I'm kind of just staying muted. And also, if anyone's available to come up and co-host this thing and bring speakers up and down, that would be awesome if anyone wants the job.
I'll help.
Who says that?
Larry Chang.
Okay, Larry. You just have to be nice to everybody. That's the only rule.
Completely.
My brother's calling me, so I got to get that on my other phone. But I'm going to go ahead and invite you up to do that. Thank you.
I can do the same too. I accepted your invite.
I also.
Hey, everybody. Can I say hi?
Welcome.
I've been raising my hand. And she gave me some speaking time. But I came in a little bit late, but I was listening. But I have a few questions for everybody. Happy Monday, by the way. But what happens when AA issues all of these other shares in 2022? How is that going to affect, what the hedgies are doing right now? Their manipulation, and then if there's no covering before 2022, which is very likely. That's one question. And Larry C., I want to hear what you have to say about that.
I'll let other speakers jump in on it also. Well, while other speakers, just interrupt me whenever you have an idea. I don't know that there are more shares to be issued unless there's an announcement from AMC that I don't know about. So I'm not sure of that information and that intelligence.
Okay. Well, because, when we had the vote, the AMC vote, and he said basically, I'll wait until 2020 to issue all of these other shares, in the millions. And so that's kind of a concern, kind of a question.
I don't know that's gone through official channels yet, but what he did do was he canceled a bond offering, and he also canceled an ESOP, an employee share owner program, even though it was an innocuous number of shares. But that's so far. Speakers, what else you got?
I think that you're right. Aaron canceled all the plans, and as far as this point, he's listened to the shareholders, and there's no future shares to be issued at this point. So I don't think that that's anything to be concerned with, really.
Do you have a part 2 answer or a part 2 question?
Can I jump in for a second?
Oh, she had a part 2 to that, but yeah, you're on deck.
Yeah, I just wanted to.
She had a part 2 to that, but you're on deck.
That's okay.
Yes, in regards to the additional offering, potentially for 2022, was supposed to be in the neighborhood of 22 million shares, I believe. Don't hold my feet to the fire. But Marc mentioned in the call earlier that if indeed they did issue more shares, that another round of STOs, the security tokens would have to be created so that the entire float was kept pure. Does that make any sense?
Can you elaborate a little bit?
Did we just have back-to-back questions that were exactly the same, or am I hearing something else?
It's by the end of the 2022.
I just
by the end of
looked it up.
2022.
If you guys want the exact answer, if you remember, it was the July 29th shareholder meeting that AMC, as a result of the proxy vote, has withdrawn with the SEC its proposed 25 million share offering. And there has since been no discussion of any additional shares by AMC.
Thank you.
Yeah, I specifically remember Adam Aaron saying that like the end of 2022.
I believe that they will propose it in the future again if they find that for AMC and their shareholders that it'll put them in a better position moving forward, which at some point it might. And honestly, 22 million shares, that's half of the daily average volume. And with the statistics out there showing the amount of possible synthetics in existence, even if somehow the shorts were going to buy every single one of those shares issued and use them to cover, it would really be a drop in the bucket and would have no change in the conviction that we have.
And what's great is the fact that Adam Aaron did pull it. So he killed it. So we can keep going with the same answer, but there's nothing right now on the horizon for dilution.
Okay, awesome.
I do just want to share, too, that if you look at all the shares that they did issue, look at what it did do for the company. I know that dilution is generally not a good thing, but if it wasn't for the share issuance, for starters, there would be less true shareholders, for one. And additionally, AMC wouldn't have the capital that they have that's allowed them to start chasing all of this opportunity. I firmly believe that the share issuances that they have done to raise capital was the absolute best decision for the company and its shareholders.
Okay, awesome. And I apologize, everybody. Like, I don't mean to ask the same questions, but I came in a little bit late. But I was, when I came in, I heard Larry C. You were talking about AA, and then Marc Cohones. There was a discrepancy. Would you mind repeating that? Or
it's not a discrepancy, it's a clarity where Marc Cohones wants to drive awareness on synthetic shares because he has this is his 9th rodeo of finding out that Goldman Sachs, and I don't mean to laugh, but it's so dirty funny that this was even allowed under NSEG chairman, where the dirtiness of Goldman Sachs lending shares that they did not own and charging hefty fees for shares that they clearly did not own, and it only came to light after a lawsuit. And so that's what Marc Cohones is, and that's what the space has been going on, bordering 6+ hours, specifically for the awareness that Marc Cohones is building to do a countermeasure to what the DTCC allows with T+2 settlement. Settlement time plus 2 days, which is an infinite amount of time. It might as well just be T plus January 28th, because that's what we are all in the midst of. Is how long have we been hodling?
Right. But I'm not even surprised. I mean, that's.
Hold on. Let me finish with. So Marc wants to call up Adam Aaron and say, look, will you please do a digital gift? And currently in my opinion, because I asked that same question using a Bitcoin Sapio, not an NFT under Ethereum, but Sapio, SAPIO. I think it's Jeremy Rubin's NFT alternative, but using Bitcoin. I asked, completely ignored, and I am a shareholder holding more than 2 shares. No callback, no response. Now I think we need to ask Adam Aaron, if you're going to say no, why are you saying no to this digital gift for AMC shareholders?
I don't think that he's allowed to hardly even answer it, in my opinion, for protection based on laws. I don't think you can talk to anybody about it, even shareholders.
Yeah. I agree, and it's like Tara said earlier, it's the SEC. Like they would have, they're the ones that would have to like step up and like do what they need to do to, you know, enforce the law, the rules.
Sorry, I haven't really spoken a lot. It's just with you saying that the SEC need to step up. People earlier spoke about people setting precedents, and just to go back to a slightly different situation with Overstock, but when that scenario and the squeeze happened there, the SEC basically came in and instead of allowing the short squeeze to continue, instead set a precedent, in my opinion, by allowing a cash settlement. So that's just something to bear in mind. And I don't want to put a dampener on everyone's ideas and stuff, but that's what's happened in the past with another company.
Did Overstock end up winning against that government lawsuit?
Because, they won the lawsuit, but they still had to. They still allowed the cash settlement to go through, and that's kind of what caused the price to decline when that leaked somehow to another party.
However, some believe that in the Overstock.com scenario, the way that the SEC did step in and kind of allowed that settlement, the shareholders never truly got what they felt they deserved.
Yeah. That's massively true. I mean, sorry, the reason I came up and to be a speaker is I don't want to interrupt anyone else's questions, but is that you finish your questions, Lewis? Or?
No, I'm just discussion. So I appreciate everybody's input, you know?
No, fair enough. Well,
everyone's input.
I came up and asked to be a speaker just because I don't necessarily know as much about stocks as probably everyone else here. So I know some about the AMC carry on, and I know some about the Overstock, short selling, etc. But purely as an outsider, what I know more about is blockchain. So there's a couple of suggestions and like definitions and people mentioning semantics and things, which when people start talking about blockchain, semantics comes into it because people get really confused really fast. So what I was going to mention about blockchain is the thing that is a problem at the moment with shares is that the ledger is horrible and siloed between all the different broker dealers and the DTCC. So blockchain can help fix that. But there's 2 main types of blockchain at the moment, and that would be smart contract blockchains and UTXO blockchains, or blockchains that can track historical records through history as time progresses, like Bitcoin. Well, Bitcoin's been the most successful, etc. We've got the most security and everything. So I think when Larry was speaking about a project that was building on Bitcoin, that would be a very secure project to then keep the history of what's going on, but then add tokens to it. So yeah, I just thought it was worth clarifying what was going on when people were talking about blockchain.
Okay, yeah.
We're really fortunate. We're really fortunate to be able to have precedents because this is bigger, sure, but we should really be. I mean, I feel very fortunate.
Yeah, hey, my name is Mike Kerchak. Really grateful to be here and part of this community. This T0 thing, I keep thinking about it. And the more I think about it, the more dangerous it sounds. I mean, it's great for us because it's legal precedent and all of that. It's great for if that's a catalyst for what we're looking for. But if I was the government, I'd be trying to kick this off before that because they need to hide the evidence. If there's literally billions of shares out there like that, I'm just trying to fathom. Like, they got caught shorting this stock the way they typically would target crappy biotech companies that with low floats and a lot of liquidity. They did that to household names, companies we believe in, that we love, cherish, generational companies like AMC. So that's why they got caught. So the amount of I can't even fathom it. I'm just rambling here, but yeah.
How bullish are you, though?
I think, they got away, they caught because they thought they could get away with it, and it was a sure bet because of the pandemic. A lot of the companies, weren't even able to be open. AMC theaters they were closed. So I think that's kind of, they put themselves in that position thinking, oh, this is like a surefire thing. Like, we can bankrupt these companies into the dirt, and then it's a win-win. We pay no taxes, and it's all benefits, right? So we pretty much stopped them in their tracks.
But I have another question too, everybody. So,
hi, Lois.
I know we're from all over, but decentralized crypto, which I love and I support 100%. But the Federal Reserve is in America, and that's kind of another question that I have. That's or that I worry about, because it's other countries, the value of their currency can fluctuate so much. And so, how does that play a role in having a coin? You know what I mean? Having coins in.
Do you mean when the Central Bank of Switzerland buys Apple stock or AMC?
Yeah, I just mean when, if you're in Turkey and they're looking at what the value of a bond is, to see how their currency can fluctuate, and then what they do.
Is Turkey a tough example? Because is their central bank semi-insolvent, or did you want to talk about a top 10 central bank, or did you want to talk about Turkey?
No, I'm just saying in general. I'm saying decentralized, and then the Federal Reserve.
So don't central banks use AMC, GameStop as an inflation hedge on their own crappy currency, which is why they bought Apple? I mean, do your own research, because I don't know if the Central Bank of Switzerland sold yesterday and you're like, hey, Larry Chang told me the central bank. But no, hold on. So
here in America, and AMC, which is an American company. I know it's international, but I'm just trying to get all of the details.
There's always
I'll take
a conversion rate.
I might be tempted to take this one.
Go ahead.
Well, I think what you're kind of aiming at is that there's a difference between decentralized blockchains that are fair launched and obviously centralized currencies, centralized stocks. The currencies are based around a country, or the stocks are based around a company. So when people want to exchange stuff, they do it in what they're familiar with. That's why you get all your fiat exchanges and everything. I would say that the beauty of blockchain, or blockchains that have their own token, is that it can travel internationally and then mesh into those markets, and then it kind of makes it a automatic international thing where anyone can get involved without getting involved in going through several other different currencies to then exchange and enter markets that you want to enter. It's really good from that point of view, and it's really good from the point of view that people from different groups can get involved You don't. It's like at the moment, US dollar. US dollar is amazing because everyone accepts it and pretty much wants it. That may be declining. I'm not going to get into that, but crypto is a level playing field for people to get involved in, where they don't necessarily. You don't have big players that are going to overpower your buying power.
Okay,
You've had a question.
that sounds good. I don't think I'm.
Hold on, Melissa. Richie had a question. It's been quite a while. Richie, your question.
Oh, hi guys. I just wanted to give my opinion on I didn't get to hear Mark because I've been in and out, but my opinion of this, I'm not against it by any means, but I do know it's going to take a long, long time. And if we think that MOAS is around the corner, like in the next 1 month, 2 months, 3 months from now, there is no way that this crypto NFT is going to happen before MOAS occurs. So I do believe that it's the way of the future, that the blockchain technology is a way to fix the broken stock market. But I also think I think we all...
I have a question. How do you know how long it's going to take?
Well, we don't, but we've all speculated.
But you just said it's going to take a really, really, really long time.
Well, I guess what I'm comparing to, Overstock took a long time. But also, if anyone...
But wasn't that the first time it was ever attempted?
For crypto, yeah. But what I'm thinking of is, if anyone remembers back earlier in the year, the Torchlight Meta Materials merger, when they announced, and we know that those are overshorted stocks as well. So they announced this $20 dividend, and I wasn't involved, so I don't know all the details, but as far as I remember, people were buying like crazy before that merger, thinking that they're all going to get $20 per share deposited into their account. And my understanding right now is they're still trying to sort out this mess of who actually owns shares.
What was the name of that company again?
Torchlight merged to Meta Materials.
That's the most incredibly case-specific thing. What is your background? Did you used to work there, or are you at a private equity firm?
No, not at all.
Can you repeat that company name? Because I'm trying to take notes here. I'm trying to moderate.
It was company Torchlight and Meta Material merger.
Okay, so that squeeze took forever, is what you're saying?
Well, no, they haven't squeezed. That's the thing, is everybody thought that when they announced this $20 dividend, that everybody holding Meta Material after the merger was going to get this $20.
When you say dividend, does that imply that they had a massive profit? Or do you know about that?
I don't, because I didn't get involved I didn't buy any shares.
But understand...
That dividend paid $1.50, by the way.
Interesting.
Okay.
Can you repeat that?
Well, it was just my understanding.
No. The gentleman who said $1.50. Can you?
It paid $1.50 a share, and it took like 5 months to get here.
Okay, so they actually did get paid out.
$1.50 a share, and it goes up and down. And I still have it because I don't know what to do.
So that's a cash dividend, correct?
Yeah,
that's completely different than what we're referring to here.
It is, but it's the same unwinding process where people thought that they were going to automatically get the dividend if they bought these shares, right? And then there was this big...
Is there a question? Is there a question associated to the statement, or?
Well, I'm bringing up discussion in comparison that, with
I guess here's the thing that I'm frustrated by, and I'm not trying to harp on you, but I'm frustrated because you came with the initial statement that this isn't going to work because it's going to take way too long.
No, I didn't
and we're anticipating the. Well, you were saying we're anticipating the squeeze is going to happen before this happens, but we don't know. We don't know when the squeeze is going to happen. We don't know how long this would take.
I haven't finished making my point yet.
Okay, but that's like what kind of initially threw me off when you came in here with those statements. So I specifically wanted to ask you what made you.
And Richie Shiny Pony, you interrupted me before. So can I finish before you interrupt Tara? Because the situation that we feel right now with these statements that are not necessarily questionable, But this makes me, after I hang up this Twitter Spaces call, that I was going to just make 1 or 2 phone calls to Adam Aaron. Now I'm going to make 3 in a week, because now I'm really incentivized. And my name's Larry Chang.
Good, Larry. That's the idea. I mean, I think what's hard for me, and I get people's negativity around that surrounds it, and like the idea that don't count on this happening, and not wanting to get our hopes up. I mean, we've been here for months. Like, of course, we can't just put all our eggs in one basket. No pun intended. But at the same time, it's been a super exciting day. I don't know if you were in here for the entire call, but it's hard for me when I'm getting near the end of this to end on the note of this, is going to take way too long. And I just don't really appreciate that sentiment. I'm just going to be point blank and honest.
And what's great, if you're an AMC shareholder...
I appreciate the questions. I appreciate the dialogue.
Right, but there wasn't. That's the problem. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. And so that's the issue I'm having is you don't know. So you can't come...
You haven't let me finish my train of thought.
Okay, that's fine. But it's not a question. You're making statements. So that's the thing is, and I keep getting interrupted. So I'm just going to mute really quick, and then I will let you finish your train of thought. But can you refrain from making statements that you are unsure about, so I can refrain from stopping you and saying, how do you know that it's going to take that long? Or how do you know any of what you're saying as a statement, as a fact? Do you see what I'm saying?
And before you finish, too, I don't know if you heard, but I actually asked Marc Cohodes one of the questions that you brought up, or more of a statement, really. I asked him, if Adam Aaron decided to play ball, what's the time frame we're looking at? And, it's short. It's not, it's not something that's going to take long, because they've done this before. Again, I think the analogy that's been said tonight is not his first rodeo. So, this isn't new territory for them to go over. And the other thing is, this is not about Met Torchlight issuing a dividend. This is the company's not trying to give away money right now. This is simply about identifying.
As far as I know, they can't because they're in debt. So that's actually not even a possibility. The cash dividend or the dividend. I don't know, maybe because if it was cash, it would be, but that's not the topic of discussion at all.
No, but
that was going to be one of my questions.
You guys keep saying that I'm cutting you off, but you keep cutting me off, and I haven't finished my train of thought. Okay,
well, if you come up here and you say things as though they're a fact, I'm gonna cut you off. Don't make statements that are untrue and state them as though they're a fact. I would appreciate you agreeing to doing that, and then I will agree to stop cutting you off.
Okay, so I didn't mean to sound like I was making statements. What I'm trying to do is present my train of thought. And, I'm an ape. I've been here since January. And my point was that a lot of people have speculated, let's say, that, the government's going to want their tax money, so this is going to end by the end of the year and blah, blah, blah. Okay, everybody speculates. Nobody knows for sure when this is going to happen, right? But we all know that there's way more shares than what are supposed to exist. So what I was using the metamaterials example is that somebody mentioned it took 5 months to get their dividend. And I believe Houston Wade's presented it best that it was because of the unwinding of, if I have 20,000 shares of AMC, 19,500 of them may be synthetic IOUs. I might only have 500 real shares, and nobody knows how many real shares they have until this unwinding occurs, right? So they don't know who to give the crypto dividend to, the NFT, or a dividend on metamaterials side. So that was just what I'm trying to say, is that I don't think that there will be like an immediate catalyst that we should get our hopes up to have like an immediate resolution to this problem, because it's the same thing. Who do you give that dividend to? Who do you give the crypto NFT to? And I don't know if it took 5 months for a cash dividend. I don't know how long it's going to take for a crypto dividend.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Were you in here for the majority of the call when Mark was
No.
here?
Like I said, I couldn't hear Mark because I wasn't on the call.
Oh, okay.
And
So
I
here,
jumping in
what
and
I
out
want to say is I read a write up on Reddit that was referring to this exact same thing, and it basically outlined exactly what you're talking about. So, you know, how it would work out, how brokerages would have to basically account for all of the shares, allocate for all of the shares that they've given, right? So, and if they were given shares that are synthetic, then they would essentially have to go to the brokerage where they got their shares. So, and that's the deal with rehypothecation of shares 5 times over. You know, it is going to be an unwinding process. So, yeah, I agree with that. But saying that it's going to take X amount of time or, you know, way too long or any of that, no one knows. I mean, we really don't know. And usually, from what I was reading, there would be a deadline date. So there would be a date set on when they have to account for these shares and issue the token, right? So that's where we're at with it. That's how the discussion went earlier. And I'm sorry for, you know, jumping on you, but it's really important to me after putting in as much energy and time and work today and, you know, before this call today, just discussing and getting this handled, that it not just be, you know, someone just come up and say, this is going to take way too long, guys. Like, what are we doing? You know? So, that's initially the way it was.
Not my intention.
Right. So, it makes it feel like I'm doing, you know, a lot for nothing. And that's the thing is I don't want anyone to feel that way at this point. With the amount of time we've dedicated to this, I think it's important that we try to stay in the positive. If we just give up before even trying, then we've failed.
Like with all the speculation of that, it's got to happen, or the government's not going to get as much tax. Let's say those people are correct in that statement, and MOAS happened in the next month or two, right? Then I'm saying that MOAS would happen before this crypto dividend may occur, and then the crypto dividend is still important for future trading, right? So, and again, nobody knows when it's going to happen. It's just. That was all I meant was we don't know if MOAS will happen before this dividend anyway, you know?
It would take 2 engineers 2 hours, and maybe I'm belittling the execution on this, but it's one person on IR, investor relations, getting one CS major, a computer science major, to explore and then paste copy with Marc Cahode's help. He probably even chip in a couple of people that are parked as an auxiliary board member, where you're not a board of director, you're not a chairman, you're not even on the board, you're an auxiliary board member, a motivated shareholder, air quotes, a shareholder activist, where you're saying, let's do a Bitcoin Sapio or Marc Cahode's NFT digital gift, and let's make the announcement that each of the 515 million shares are going to get a digital gift. And it's just not necessarily one thing that causes MOAS, the mother of all short squeezes. It's not necessarily one thing. It's a combined a slew of little things. So this is for us to play small ball, for us to lob in a call and say, hey, Adam Aaron, reach out to Mark while he's on vacation on a call until 2 a.m.
I appreciate the dialogue.
Oh, right?
I appreciate the dialogue. No, I appreciate the dialogue. I appreciate the lady that was just speaking, you know? I think it's good.
That was Tara. That was Tara the host.
It was Richie's Shiny Penny. And speaking of Richie's Shiny Penny, let me just say that Rich Greenfield's partner was actually in here listening in while Mark was discussing this plan and relaying it all to Rich.
He's probably stalking me.
I'm just saying, you might want to change your name. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, this is the attention that Mark garnered. Like Mark, everyone knows Mark is not messing around. So if they hear, wait, Mark's involved with this, like, it's kind of like an uh-oh kind of moment. Like, maybe we need to wake up and maybe we need to start paying a little more attention and quit trying to downplay the thing. There's actual stuff happening. And like Mark told me, if we got to light a fire under some people, Mark would love to see Rich switch sides and be like, hey, you know what? I like this play now. Kind of like the way this sounds. And so he's willing
what's going on, everybody?
He's willing, just a minute, I'm almost done. I know when you first come up here, you can't hear me talking, but he's willing to have a conversation with Rich. So my goal is to get Rich Greenfield to come to a call and hang out and chat with Mark and see where his head's at, if he still feels like AMC has a 1 penny price target. So anyway, I was just saying your name and had to bring that up to you because you said you weren't in here earlier, but it was kind of a awakening moment to see, wait, his partner is in here? Wait, he's relaying this to Rich? That's wild. Like, crazy stuff.
The only way that MOAS doesn't happen is if AMC goes bankrupt, which the hedge funds, that's their only Hail Mary play, and they've been throwing that same dumb Hail Mary pass because they don't have an infinite amount of funds, but they have nearly limitless funds, and it looks like every time they try to ladder trade this thing down, apes just tell another friend to pick up a couple more shares. And Marc Cohodes, for him to be this mentally invested for only owning for him 60,000 shares is amazing. And we need to thank two people. One, Tara, hugs, massive appreciation. And also thank Matt Kors on Twitter, Matt_Kors, because he did a long interview of Alder Lane Eggs, Marc Cohodes, and that's a couple weeks after Marc Cohodes hit smash buy on 60,000 shares. One fell swoop. Of course, he moved the price a little bit, but we need to thank Matt Kors over Twitter and just CC terrible.
Actually, that happened in a whole different order, Larry.
Oh my God!
You want the real order?
Tell me the real order.
Would you like the real order?
Yes,
okay,
tell me.
The real order happened when we started tweeting Citadel scandal and Ken Griffin lied. Citadel got pissed, tried to do damage control. Their PR people or whoever didn't advise them very well. They came to Twitter and started tweeting after 9 months of silence. And Mark, after all of the work he's done about January, came back because Citadel started tweeting out of fear of, oh my gosh, slander, they're saying bad things about us. So we brought Mark back to Twitter out of his little bit of a hiatus, because he got kind of quiet there for a little bit. And so when he was on a call with someone named Edwin, a friend of his, I went to it and I requested to speak. And when they let me up, first person they let up, and I introduced myself, said something, about the stock and whatever. And then Mark ended up reaching out. So from there, Mark and I have become pretty, good friends, I would say, outside of all of this, and had a lot of really good discussions in regard, because I'll be honest, when Mark first came around, he was just like, AMC, like, huh? Like, what? He didn't even know, like, what was happening. So I really had to fill him in. He was really aware of GME because of the January stuff. So I basically, filled him in on what we were doing here. From then forward, he would ask me, like, who should I speak to? Who would be a good person to go to? Matt Kors. I told him, Matt Kors asked me, should I have Mark on my channel? And I told Matt Kors, yes, I do believe you should, because Matt has a huge platform and that many more people can kind of get a background on who Mark is and what he's done. So then Matt did the hour-long interview with Mark. So basically, it's been kind of almost like a vetting process on Twitter and then YouTube, and then just trying to make sure, because how many times have we had someone come along making some promises or, attempting to do something to help us, and then it just doesn't pan out. It doesn't turn into anything, right? And I think that's where some of the frustration tonight is coming from, right? So it's understandable. Like, we've been working so hard. We're fatigued. We have like huddle fatigue bad. But it's also extremely exciting if we can look at the bright side and we can look at the positive impact that we've been able to make here. Like, did this? We caused this snowball effect. Essentially, I don't think Mark would have been in that space call that day if it wasn't for us tweeting out and getting Citadel's attention and getting them back on Twitter. So it's so crazy how the universe works and stars kind of have to align, but that's what is happening here.
Tara, thank you.
And that's exactly how I feel. Thank you, Larry. But
no, thank you for setting me straight.
That's exactly how I feel. No, yeah.
Oh,
for sure.
I had no idea.
I'm gonna take credit because I did this.
No, you should take credit.
My prodigy. No, I'm just kidding.
No, you should take credit. You should take credit.
And to be honest, what's always so scary for me is getting told, like, I'm bringing shills into the... I'm too welcoming, or I accept people too quickly, or whatever. Well, that's not my job. My job is I like to hear everyone's voices and everyone's side of things and everyone's angle and get to know people and figure out, okay, what part can they play? What role can they play? How can they help? You know? And that's something that Mark and I have been discussing extensively behind the scenes. You know, just trying to figure out, like, what has he done in the past? How can he help with this situation? And that's where this whole thing is kind of stemmed from, right? So will it fix everything? Will it even work out in the end? I don't know. We don't know. But to just say, you know, I'm never going to just throw my hands up and give up. That's for sure. I've been here way too long, and we've all been here and working way too hard to give up without even trying. I mean, it's crazy what we've actually accomplished. And when you really think about it, if this happens, if it happens and it happens well and it happens efficiently, it could essentially change the way the entire stock market is ran. And that is the whole point, is to fix the system. And this could be the way to fix the system. Because eventually, I mean, if we could get the securities industry to completely run on the blockchain, every single share of every single stock would be trackable, right? There would never be this issue of naked short selling and all of that. There would never be naked shares. So that's the whole thing here. It's like, it could literally change everything. And I think, you know, it seems overwhelming and a little bit far-fetched, but it's actually like right here. It's like happening real time. I mean, the popularity of crypto, the popularity of like Ethereum and blockchain and NFTs, it's literally like the stars are aligning. And I don't know how else to put it, but that's how it feels.
Yes. The Federal Reserve has to modernize how they process things and everything, right? Now,
right.
Changes.
Absolutely.
Things have to change. You have to progress.
Well, and for regulation. And so how do you regulate something that you can't even see? How do you regulate naked shorting? You can't see it. No one knows. No one has proof, right? So regulators would actually be able to provide oversight in a situation like this where everything is accounted for on the blockchain.
I do want to clear something up real quick, though. Somebody mentioned earlier that we don't know who owns what shares, what ones are real and what ones aren't. That is somewhat true, but it's also somewhat incorrect. If you have direct registered your shares, those are your shares. They're in your name. They're in their ledger in ComputerShare. So, yes, it has its downsides. I'm not trying to get people to do it. It's only for those people who really want to do it. But I have 60 shares that I know are in my name. And if I ever get the time to do it during the middle of the workday this week, there's going to be another 60 that get moved over there. And I'm going to keep moving those over because I'm about to dump another, I think, probably 5K on AMC in the next week or so, as soon as I can get the funds to clear into my bank. But the point is that those are your shares. And so when it does come time for the NFT move, you absolutely will get those if you have those shares registered over there. So we don't know how many fake ones are out there and who has what. And really we should all just consider anything that's not direct registered to just be, a question mark, which is, the right way to think of it. But it's important to note that there is a way for you to have your name on those shares. Whether or not you feel that's the right choice for you, that's your decision, right? But I'm only going to put a portion of mine over there because, that's what I'm going to keep post MOAS. But it absolutely has your name on it, and it absolutely is accountable, and it is not in the DTCC's control. So that's my piece.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's good.
Hello.
Hola.
So, to Richie's point, I honestly don't care if MOAS happens before or after the whole, NFT thing. Right. Because either way, I'm bullish on it. I like the stock. I think Adam Aaron is doing such a great job. And I think he's downplaying how involved he is, whether or not he had that discrepancy or that miscommunication with Mark. And I just want to say, probably don't have a lot of time here.
Well, I was just going to say really quick, him and that situation with Mark could mean something else too. It could mean that he's working on something on his end already, and so I'm definitely not going to lose hope over that. Whether it's Mark or Joe Bob down the street who, basically gets this to happen doesn't really make a difference. Like, I mean, if it happens, it's amazing. So that's really what's important, right? So,
and I give credit to Mark. I give credit to Adam. I give credit to everybody who's been doing so freaking well. Trey, Tara, Matt, anybody who's doing these space calls day in and day out. And I think everybody can agree AMC had a great day today. We have a lot of things to look forward to, even though, I think we're in the, 12th hour. I feel like it. We've been through what's been like forever, almost a year. And, it's better to have players with us than against us, regardless of people saying, AMC's worth a penny, which is hilarious. Or, people like Charles Gasparino. Because, eventually they're going to have to turn the table because like Mark said, right, they don't want to look stupid. But it's always good to have that negative news because the more there's people pushing against us, we know that we're doing something right. And the noise is always going to be there. Ironically, my name being Naked Shorts, it's a problem, right?
Yeah, we're trying to get rid of you. How do we get rid of? What's the best, most effective way to get rid of you? That's what we want to know.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
On the day we expose the naked shorts and they're no longer naked, you become exposed shorts. It's awesome.
Yeah. Anyways, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for letting me speak. You guys are awesome. And I'll catch you guys later.
Yeah, thanks for coming by the call. Oh my gosh, I just discovered an account where they mixed Trey and Matt together. Trey's and Matt Core's love child. I could have gone forever with not seeing what is happening. No, thank you for coming up to the call. I just followed you, and that's awesome. I appreciate you contributing. And I'm sorry, guys, if I was getting huffy puffy. Sometimes it's like you dedicate hours and hours. I've been on this call for 6 hours. I forgot to eat food for 5 of them. And, all of a sudden it kind of hits you when someone's like, kind of, making you feel a certain way, like, wait a minute, I didn't just do all this for nothing. We're doing something. We're gonna do something.
I kind of like you hungry.
Someone was in my DM saying, don't forget to breathe. And I'm like, I was pacing the floor. Like, I don't know why I do that. I find myself pacing a lot when I'm on these calls. But I think it's just my adrenaline anxiety or whatever you want to call it. But I'm chilling now, so I'm breathing. Thank you for reminding me.
The energy feels great from the audience.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing. It's wild. Right when I started this call, there were 500 people in immediately, which has never happened before. So I know people were really excited about today. And then, we had over 2,000 people in here listening at one point. Louis Tomlinson from One Direction was in here with his 59 million followers. It was a big, eventful day. And honestly, I'm on kind of like the come down from it right now, and I appreciate you guys kind of holding it down and being inquisitive and having discourse and just keeping it civil at the same time. So I just want to say thank you guys for sticking around and being the best versions of yourselves, even when I'm not. So thanks.
Hey, can I say something?
Edward,
Hey guys.
Edward, you've had your hand up for a while, so let's let Edward go. And then if you haven't had a chance to ask your question, just follow up with Edward or after Edward, brother.
Sure. Hey, thank you, man. Dude, I was in this thing and I fell asleep like at 3 p.m. So
Wait, what time is it? You're in California, right?
It's 7:20. Yeah, I'm in Sacramento. Yeah.
You had your hand up earlier, and they were calling on you for a question.
Dude, I fell asleep, literally passed out.
I kept saying, Edward, you've been in here with your hand up. I was calling on you over and over. I'm like, okay, this is weird. I'm not gonna. That would have been funny if I had the ability to unmute you and could hear you snoring over there. That would have been great. Yeah, did you dream about problem solving? What'd you dream about for AMC? Tell us.
So I DM'd you and I was like, hey, what if the whole NFT thing, they release a metaverse game similar to Ready Player One, where an NFT is attached uniquely to each person, to each shareholder, and that continues on to whatever achievement or your character that's in that metaverse that you're playing as, and you can do whatever you want with it. But specifically, you can do you're either a mechanic, you're a creative person, kind of like Sims. What kind of?
Hey, I love that. Can you repeat that, because some people might be multitasking, and I want you to repeat all of it, please.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, I want this. Wait, how do I sign up for this?
You
said Ready Player One and Sims, and I was sold. I'm like, dude, I love both those things. Can we please make this happen?
Yeah, so if you create a virtual reality, but within the metaverse, where a system joins in with what your body movement is doing, but you're joining to a character. So you're seeing your character alive. It's gonna need a revamp in the VR system, but if there's a game that comes out and you have a specific character that's connected with the NFT, that's uniquely embedded into you, so that nobody owns that character except you. Nobody can just hack your character, because that NFT is specifically uniquely coded to your share. So as a shareholder, you get the access to being a partaker in the game, which nobody pretty much has. Otherwise, you can probably get them in through an adoption of some sort. But Ready Player One, they have this where somebody gets lucky and they're able to play in they're able to partake into it, and then suddenly it becomes global. Anybody can partake in it, and then you have this crazy fight against the evil company that have created the stock market from the very beginning, and you're in the Ready Player One, they basically overtake it, and they are the wealthy now because they've taken the game into their own hands. So the NFT would be an access or a ticket specific to your character that allows you to customize, to track achievements, kind of thing. But it will be specifically embedded to whatever AMC GME and then Doge ship, whatever you want to kind of attach it to. And then, ideas are unending from there on. But Ready Player One is a freaking great movie. You guys need to watch it. I think I've seen it
100 million times. I freaking love that movie. It's definitely one of my all-time favorites. Yes, it's very great.
And you know how he comes. He's like, "Hey, can you fix my bike here real quick?" And the guy comes in and fixes his bike, and he gives him a gift. So how an NFT has a gift embedded into it. That's the transactions that's gonna happen in the game. An artificial or VR version of the NFT that you already own, except it's traded through the virtual realm of the game. So kind of
like Fortnite or Call of Duty, you can do that. You know what I mean? Where you give people stuff in the game, in-game stuff. But then this stuff would be on the blockchain, essentially.
And that's the weirdest part, is how it lines up with this predictive programming. You want to? I don't know what you want to call it. Whether it's like I don't even know what to call it. But it's like the inevitable is happening where like AMC and Jimmy is taking over these people that have been corrupting the entire lives of everyone. So it's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder with this game that you're talking about if it would be possible to also incorporate it into like a VR version of it, like virtual reality version of that game.
That's metaverse. Yeah, that is metaverse. So
okay.
metaverse,
So that's what it would be.
It's more than VR. It joins your body movement, so it's not just like how you view and how your headset, how you're moving. It's also like the joining your body movement as well. So, if for example, if they do the same thing in Ready Player One, where they have a suit that has like sensors that give off a specific sensory reflex, like it doesn't have to be attached to your brain. That's not what I'm talking about. But if they have, there's different things in life the people create, like technologies where it interacts with your body and it gives you a sensory kind of signal where you kind of feel close to what is supposed to happen if you were actually in there. And I think that would be really crazy. I think we're getting close to something like artificial gaming and tech and becoming like kind of IRL stuff. It's weird. But that would be really cool, in my opinion. I think like Ready Player One game joining with like being released AMC, Jimmy, and crypto, and then having the people saying game over and stuff. Yeah, that would be insane.
Hey Tara, so I just wanted to say.
Wait, Edward, did you dream this? Was this in a dream? Is this what happened when you fell asleep?
I've dreamed of this before, just not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not yesterday. But this is my thoughts because I've watched Ready Player One, so that explains why I dreamed about it.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I thought because you were passed out during the space call, and this is what we were, not that, but we were talking about all of this crazy stuff. So, yeah, that's so cool. I love that idea. I think that would just be amazing. Amazing. Sorry about that, Brian. You were about to chime in and say something. My bad.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I just wanted to say that we have a baseball player that plays for the Cubs that's in this space right now, James Pugliese. And I looked at his profile, and looks like he's invested in the stock market. So maybe
he's in here a lot. He's in here all the time. He's an OG.
Yeah, so maybe you could we could get some of his players and Major League Baseball people to help us out.
Yeah, maybe they want to wear AMC hats at the game. No one would be against that, right, James? That'd be totally fine, right? Instead of your team gear, just put on some AMC gear. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, that I don't know if he's ever come up and talked, but he's in here a lot. So, I mean, you never know. And then Kat just had the truck and stuff at the was it the World Series or where? What was the big? Yeah, I'm not even.
It was. It was at the World Series outside of in Houston. She had the truck that went by in front of the stadium. Yeah, it was like one of those ad trucks where they have the ads on the truck, like the box truck.
Nobody. You have a question?
Oh, yeah. First off, thank you for everybody for sharing the knowledge. But I kind of just wanted to get some insight about what everybody thought about the price action of AMC daily. And I'm always curious, I know there's a huge mishmash of day traders, swing traders, institutions, retail, but the fact that there seemed to be a basket of shorted stocks, namely GME and AMC being the ones I follow the most close. But if anybody has any insight, what sometimes they're just freak spikes, or I'm assuming that any dip is just somebody just shorting the hell out of it. But random spikes are always curious to me, and I just want to know if anybody had any insight to that kind of price action.
The price is synthetic, just like Ken Griffin.
Right.
Anybody that says, that you might find some data online, where you get like a ton of calls come in, somebody has a scanner, and they're like, oh yeah, so-and-so is buying in right now. But it could be any number of things. It could be a smaller hedge fund that's just outside their limit that has to cover. It could be, another one of these big funds that want to add to their position. And it could just, quite honestly, just be the HFTs. Some of these things, Kenny Boy's come out and said that he tries to prey on human emotion, right? So, it's going up. I'm going to buy calls because this is the run-up, right? This is it. And, a lot of people, they fall victim to that. I know that earlier on AMC, I had leaps, and I was coming pretty close to selling them back in the day. And, I exercised them eventually. But those gap ups can be hard to deal with sometimes because you look at them, and if you're holding options, you're like, what do I do here? But, it's nobody really knows when you look at those kinds of things. You just look at, support, resistance, and kind of respects those sometimes. And then other times it just flies right through them.
So that being said, if AMC were to take off, generally is it expected that most stocks that are heavily shorted in that basket are just all going to just skyrocket at the same time?
100%, man. 100%.
They're all crazy scary.
AMC has been shorted since 2013. GME since 2003. The shorts haven't even covered. They're all hiding in the over the counter, whatever OTC trading you want to call it. They have like factories. So back in January, FINRA posted this, and the SEC confirmed it. The Robinhood and JP Morgan and all these other brokerages, and you had banks, and they have factories. They've been saying they were trying to make orders happen, they were using the options and stuff. And for some reason, they had this unique ID embedded to each order or volume, whatever you want to call it. And they could not process enough unique IDs. That's why they removed the buy button. So whatever the volume or whatever the orders are coming from, they're putting them in factories. And those factories, it goes to whatever market maker, and then Ken Griffin can just apply that to his PFOF and hold it and manipulate it into the dark pool, and then use whatever OTC and hide the short interest with it. So the whole entire problem has been since January, and for some reason they've lost control because Robinhood wasn't able to keep up with whatever that was going on. They were like, I don't know what's going on, because Ken Griffin wanted to manipulate the market, and Robin was like, whoa, what's going on here? We need to turn off the buy button because we can't match unique IDs with every order. So there's just a lot of garbage that's been happening since then, but we've seen it since January, them being exposed.
So we have no idea where the instruction to turn off the buy button came from. That's part of the whole reason for this lawsuit, trying to get down to the bottom of that. But in regards to the batches that these stocks trade in, like BlackBerry, for example, and GameStop, AMC, what's another one? Bed Bath & Beyond. I think Bed Bath & Beyond has gone a little crazy lately. But to say that just because one of them squeezes is going to affect the other one, that's not a guarantee. Because, yes, they do trade off an algo system, and they do often trade together. But if a fund at a certain point in time decides that they want to cover one position and they don't feel that, then they've done their risk management and they feel like they can hold on to their shorts in another position, they might just remove that stock from the batch. So in a run-up, yes, you could possibly see them all run up together, or you could only see one run up together, or two, right? It's to say that they're all going to move together every single time. It's just not the case.
I will just shortly disagree with you, because if you have them running in the same algo and you can use this historical data from previous times, just like June, just like January, just like in-betweens like March and April and May and all those moments, you see the same ripple effect happening all over the meme stocks. And actually, it goes even further. I posted many times. I even showed it to Dave, but the algos also affect in the crypto sector. It's not just stock market. You have AMC that's stuck literally in a draft with Bitcoin, Ethereum, SHIB. Then you have Doge that's literally the same thing as GME, except Doge is in a different time frame, and GME is like from a 2-year period, when Doge is literally from like 3 years. There's a time drift between the algos and the stocks and crypto. But any stock that's put into this U.S. corrupt market, it's put in this corrupt algo system that makes it so that the movement is not as volatile as anybody could expect it to be. So that they can control it, so that they can halt it, so they can suppress it, so that it doesn't go crazy against them. That's why they have an algo system, in my opinion.
Well, again, we're looking at a recent filing that was postponed at NSCC. I think it was 10, was postponed, and it was the one where you turn in your stocks, and then you go off and cover whatever you have to cover, or whatever kind of hole you're in, you dig yourself out, and then maybe you can buy your stocks back later. But again, I understand the idea that these do move together. All-time high for AMC in the last couple of months. There was also a run up in GME, right? But they don't always trade together. So it's I just don't want anybody to get misled because they decided to do something with AMC and another meme stock didn't follow it. That's just what I want to clarify, that just because something happens to one of the stocks doesn't guarantee it will happen to all of the other meme stocks. So that's what I was getting at.
Just to be clear, too, I'm not trying to pump other stocks. I'm just using that for example, just as a trend that I noticed. Definitely not trying to pump other stocks that may or may not be in that basket. But I guess just one other thing is, and I won't take any more time, but I'd seen that I think when Robinhood was sued, they had to report GME's short interest, and I think in January it was like 220% or something, which...
Okay, I did a lot. Let me stop you right there. I did a lot of talking with other people last night about this. That lawsuit, that data was quoted from Yahoo. Whether or not that was accurate, I don't know. But as far as the lawsuit goes in that brief, the brief wasn't filed. There's no case number. No attorney signed it. Right? That's kind of some misinformation. So be careful with who you're trusting in terms of data. My advice is if you can find 2 or 3 confirmed sources, like separate from each other, that's then you can kind of say, hey, this is some quality information. But when you just find, I know exactly where you got that from, and it's okay. I'm not trying to create a hostile work environment here, but it's good to verify sometimes when you see things that are in your favor, just to kind of look at them again and say maybe this is not exactly what I thought it initially was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the short interest is larger than we could probably even ever think of, because if their entire trade happens with the whole high frequency trading, then the OTC, then you have whatever bonds, whatever they use, futures. If their entire thing is to hide their short interest so that the SEC can't find it or they can't file a lawsuit against them. I think once this whole thing collapses, when NFT releases, when the whole tracking system comes out, they're gonna be so exposed. I don't think we even realize how big the short interest even really is.
Gotcha. Thanks. I appreciate it, guys, and thanks for making the space, Tara.
Did anybody else have a question? I know that Kathy, you just got up here, right? Did you have a chance to speak? All right, not here. How about you, Hold?
Did people just pass out like me?
You hear me at all?
I can now. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sorry. My other phone I keep having to switch between phones. Once I run these calls for a while, they get really glitchy and my phones get overheated. But sorry, I couldn't respond to the person who was thanking me, but you're welcome. Thank you for coming up and chatting. And Nick, I am so glad that you were here to say what you said, because I saw your comment yesterday in regard to that data, and it's so pertinent that we are able to real time kind of like stop the spread of misinformation. I mean, unless you trust Google or I'm sorry, Yahoo Finance or wherever that came from. But it's like at some point, I just really appreciate that you guys come out and can be the block for misinformation. No, it's not actually true. Consider the source. Make sure you look up. Make sure you find out. Coming. So I just really thank you.
Hey, is it me or is she going robot voice or is that just my connection going?
Yeah, I think her phone just overheated. Yeah.
It's bad.
Too hot. Just like the stock.
Hey, I got a question. Do you guys know when Marco Hodes or Adam Aaron, do you guys know how long it takes for the NFT to become live? Like, what is the process? Is it a week? Is it a few days for it to come into fruition?
It'll be much faster if we incentivize and encourage our beloved CEO who's on his 5th turnaround.
Oh, but I'm talking about if they say, hey, NFT is coming. Is it like within a few days? I'm not saying how long it's going to take for it to process. I'm saying when they say it's releasing or whatever, right? Is it going to be like a few days or a few weeks or is it months?
So to Larry's point, this is the longer part of this is going to be the negotiation with Adam Aaron. That's going to be the long part of that. The easy, quick part is going to be the implementation of the tech.
It just takes
Mark had said that it was gonna be like very, very quick. He was like, it's very easy. They could just get somebody on their team that could really just write a code, basically. So you're talking like days. It's not even faster than that.
There's code sitting.
But just like Nick said, it's going to be getting Adam Aaron to agree to it and to get it done and all that. So that's probably going to take the longest time.
There's code sitting right there waiting for people to paste copy the code.
Exactly. So basically, it's not going to take any time at all if they want to do it.
For the most part, that's right. I mean, there's obviously, I'm a software developer, so I can say this with certainty. There are certain processes that you're going to have to go through, to ensure code, that it's secure and that you're going through the right processes. But that, in comparison to the amount of time taken to, interact with Adam Aaron, is very insignificant. The speed at which people have been able to do this is very fast. So if you have you could have a team of under 8 developers and you could probably get the contract code written, code reviewed, security reviewed, etc. in a matter of a month. Tops. Depends on how fast you're moving on it, if that's all they're doing.
Oh, so it would take that long then? I thought it was sooner than that. I didn't realize it'd be even a month.
I mean, you could speed it up, but I'm saying a realistic timeline of how quickly I or my team will deliver a feature is roughly on the order of somewhere between 2 weeks to a month. It depends on their internal, dev structures, what sort of stuff they have on their teams, etc., or if they get somebody to help them do it. If they get somebody to help them do it who's done it before, sort of like what Mark was talking about with Overstock, then it could be much faster, particularly since T0 is kind of specializing in this sort of thing. It could be under 2 weeks.
Yeah, they can't bring that T0, but the way that AMC, if this does happen, I think it'll work out as AMC is just a piece of the puzzle that just slides right in. And it's, it's a gear that just slides right into place, and everything functions as usual. I don't think it'll require a whole lot of processes to be run. But again, who knows what Adam Aaron wants to do. I trust him to make the best decision for the company.
Can you repeat that last part?
The part about I trust Adam Aaron to make the best decision for the company. Is that what you're talking about? Or yeah. I mean, because he's been very vocal about. I think he said in the NBC interview that he was on that he's holding on for life by the tail of the 8 movement, right? But that being said, he's holding on to cash, just in case there's another COVID variant around the corner or something else happens that attempts to derail the company. So he's prepared for the worst, and we gave him that together. So I'm confident and I'm happy with my position in AMC, and it's only going to get better. So, who else is up here? Ben? Not a chance to talk yet. Patty, did you ask your question, or were you just kind of sleeping on the job?
No, I've just been listening to the conversations. The emotion is palpable. There's been so many people that have done so much work. We're surrounded by so many good people that want to see change. I'm just ecstatic to be here.
Great. I don't know if Tara can hear me, but if she can, I think, can I send her another phone so that she can have 3 phones to do these live chats?
I'll let her know you volunteered to buy her an iPhone 12, right?
I'll get her whatever she wants because she's given so much to this community. I'll do whatever I have to do.
Okay, here, well said.
Definitely. I wouldn't even, me personally, I wouldn't even be part of the Twitter AMC and GME talk because I migrated from Reddit, and I had a Twitter account from back when I was in the military, and I created it, and then I never used it again. I think I said hi Twitter, and then I deleted a post I made about going to play miniature golf, and that was it. But I joined a space call, and I think one of my first space calls was actually listening to Tara talk to Mark Cahodas. That was like my introduction to this whole scene, and I was like, wow, there's a lot of quality people in this movement, so I'm going to stick around and see, what happens here, because I was really excited, that day, and I was pretty pumped. It's pretty awesome for that to be, how I was introduced to things. Hold, did you have anything to say, man? Wing King 42?
I just wanted to say hail to the Queen, Tara. I appreciate you. Nick, you are very informative, and I really do believe that Adam Aaron is the silverback of all times, and I believe he is already working on the things that have been talked about in this entire space call. I just want to say thank you guys. Appreciate you. And that's it. I'm in here all the time listening, and I love you guys. You guys are the H. You guys keep me motivated. Appreciate you.
Thank you, and you're absolutely right. This is not Adam Aaron's first run-in with crypto, so he knows a thing or two. So again, I trust him to make the right decision, but I do hope that he goes for some kind of blockchain implementation to help us fight the good fight.
Hey guys, I'm able to unmute now. This call is so messed up. I think I'm probably going to have to cut it. I just keep having issues with being able to even get it to work at all. But I just wanted to say I really appreciate you all. I appreciate you, Nick, for stepping up and trying to help me keep this thing going. And just everyone for being a part of this. Stay strong and keep doing what you're doing and don't quit. And stay on Twitter so I can find you guys.
Hey, Kat, I already offered to buy you a brand new iPhone, whatever you Tara.
That's the
I'm
other
sorry.
boss
I'm so
bitch.
sorry.
I'm just kidding.
Oh my god.
That's funny. I know who you really have on your mind. Wow.
I already offered to buy you whatever phone you want, so that way you can have 3 phones to do these
Oh my
calls.
goodness. Oh my goodness. That's like, I would literally be juggling. And actually, I know how to juggle, but I've never juggled phones. So I could try that if I had 3. No, but I feel like right before I started doing space calls, I had got the other iPhone, not the brand new one, but the other one. And I switched from, Android and tried it out. And I could not get used to the software, like little quirks and stuff that really bothered me. But I loved the phone. Like, I loved how the phone felt. I loved the battery life. I loved so much about it. So, like, hardware-wise, amazing. Software-wise, the damn cursor thing because I messed up when I'm typing a lot and not being able to like place the cursor was driving me insane. And I know there's the trick where you hold down the space bar and you can drag it and place it, but dude, who has time for that? Like, honestly. So as soon as iPhone fixes that, I will get an iPhone and I will run these calls smoothly on an iPhone that doesn't have an overheating battery issue like stupid Android. But I wish they would just have like a love child and have amazing batteries, no overheating, and awesome software that you can like do whatever you want with. But whatever. Anyway, thank you, Brian. I appreciate the offer. But I'll give in and get an iPhone eventually to run these freaking things because I've heard that they're way better. So.
Just DM me and I'll send you one.
Oh my gosh.
I'll
follow you though, for sure. What'd you say, Nick?
The only complaint about having an iPhone with this thing is if there are tweets up top and you're trying to scroll down to bring guests up or even to see who's in the call, it'll automatically scroll back up to the pinned posts up top. So it gets annoying. It gets very annoying.
It seems like that's the way it is. Nothing's perfect, huh? What's up, Brian?
No, I just wanted to back on what Nick was saying about like how whenever he first started this Twitter stuff, if you go back and look at my Twitter, I started doing Twitter because of AMC. So I'm in the same exact boat as you are, Nick, because I've never been in any of these spaces until like probably a month ago, whenever I started actually looking at it and actually getting involved. And it's pretty freaking awesome, and I love it. I stay away from all the drama and the crap. I don't post anything that's negative. I'm always this upbeat, and I just want to spread good vibes.
Then I'm glad I followed you because that's what I'm looking for. I want some uplifting people, that's for sure. I feel like so far I follow over 10,000 people and I love what all of you guys, everyone, when I scroll through and I see what people are posting, it's so hard for me not to hit retweet on every single thing in the middle of the night when I finally have downtime to just scroll through the feed. Don't do it, because people's alerts are probably going crazy when I'm sitting there doing that. But it's fun. You guys keep it really fun on here. And I think that's my favorite part about this whole Twitterverse thing is it's really helped pass some of the hard times, especially the red days. It's made it a lot easier and a lot smoother for me personally. So I appreciate all of you guys and the positive vibes. Can't wait to see what you got, Ryan. But anyway, I think I'm going to end it. I'm tired. I'm sure everyone else is getting tired, and I hope you all have a good night. And I'll be back on here soon. I'm just not sure when.
Tara, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care, everybody. Do something nice for yourselves.
Thank you, guys. Have a wonderful
Call your family members. They miss you.
Nick, thank you. Everybody, thank you. Great meeting you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tara. Keep holding, babies.
All right. You guys have a good night.